Walmart employees, what's the worst thing you have seen inside your store? Story 1. Had a customer in a motorized scooter, his personal one, not the store provided, came up to me at the sporting goods desk and he asked me where the cans of compressed air are. I walk him over to some and he thanks me, grabs a can off the shelf, and proceeded to start huffing it right in front of me. Story 2. I worked at Walmart about 20 years ago, being the manager of the photo lab before digital took over. So my department was right next to the electronics department. And I'm chatting with the manager of the electronics department, and all of a sudden we hear a woman yell, "Here it comes!" We then see a middle-aged woman frantically scuttling down the aisle, holding her shorts near the back. She ran to the restroom, leaving a trail of liquid crap behind her. It looked like when a dog is sick and you're trying to get them out the door before they make a mess all over your carpet, and they keep stopping to crap every few seconds. An employee went in with a pair of pants off the shelf to help out. She put them on and made a beeline towards the exit without paying for them, leaving her soiled pants in the stall on the floor. So you crap all over the store and the floor, then the nice staff at Walmart give you a pair of pants, and you don't even have the decency to pay for the pants or even say thanks? What is wrong with people? I get that sometimes the stomach strikes, and when you have to go, you have to go, but what the heck? This woman should be banned from all Walmarts henceforth. Story 3. Not an employee, but a very frequent Walmart shopper. All the Walmarts around me are pretty nice. Never seen anything nasty going on, but there was an incident once that still sticks with me to this day. When I was younger, my mom had to grab meds at Walmart in the middle of a storm. It wasn't a bad storm or anything, just very rainy with some thunder, but it was supposed to continue for several days. So of course, the store was packed. So we were in line at the in-store pharmacy, and there was a man who was clearly mentally disabled with a helper in front of the line. The man between us and them was this dude who, in my young mind, must have been a lawyer. Did not fit the stereotypical Walmart look at all, wearing an expensive-looking suit, perfectly gelled hair, literally carrying a briefcase. He looked annoyed that he was there at all. He intensely reminded me of Patrick Bateman, just an air of disinterest and arrogance, and was brushing his coat off every time anyone walked too close to him. Everything's fine, and the guy and his helper at the front of the line get their prescriptions and start to turn around. Just as they do, there's a huge thunderclap, and suddenly, the power goes out in the store. It's not pitch black, but it's dark as hell, and immediately there's commotion in line. I look up just in time to witness disabled man punch lawyer dude square in the face. Lights flicker, come back on, and the lawyer man is standing there holding his bloody nose looking like he's ready to murder somebody. Disabled guy is freaking out. The helper is profusely apologizing and trying to help the lawyer guy. Lawyer guy waves him off with a glare, walks to the front and calmly says his name and info and throws down some money. Pharmacist hands him prescription, which he snatches wordlessly and turns away, brushing past me still holding his nose, leaving a trail of blood on the linoleum floor. I don't know why, but the entire thing felt so surreal. I still remember it like it just happened. Wildest thing I've ever seen in Walmart. Story 4. First job out of high school in 2009, and I moved across country to be with my girlfriend. Ended up working at a Walmart as a janitor overnight in the worst part of town in Tulsa, Admiral and Memorial for any locals. This place had everything it could under lock. High theft, and a few people had died there, so the workers nicknamed it Killmart. One night, a guy is in the sporting goods area and wants to buy something. He takes his wallet out, sets it on the counter for a second. A thief walks up and grabs it and runs off. The victim proceeds to grab a golf club, chase the man down, and violently beat him in an aisle. It looked exactly like a crime movie. Everyone in the store flipped, and a bunch were calling people to view it in the CCTV room. My manager waved me down and then asked me to clean up the aisle so the store would look nice for the morning. You know, the crime scene. I clocked out for lunch, quit the next day. Story 5. I've been working at Walmart for 2.5 years and I've seen it all. The worst thing I've seen was a man who was checking out in the self-checkout. All was good until this smell whiffed by. I didn't think much of it and figured the guy had farted. He proceeded to shake his left leg until a large slimy turd came out of his pants. He took his receipt and left. Needless to say, I did not pick that up and called maintenance over. I can only imagine the feeling of a warm turd sliding down my leg. What is it with people and pooping in public at Walmart? I know it's not the most classy shopping experience, but that doesn't mean you get to just crap all over the place. Was the guy hopefully buying some adult diapers at the checkout then? I get why People of Walmart is such a popular site, because some truly horrifying, disgusting things happen there. Story 6. I was an overnight manager at the time. The store is located in the crappiest area of a major city at a 24-hour store. At around 2 a.m., the overnight loss prevention associate had just caught a guy shoplifting on the cameras, and I had been called up to help him. Things go smoothly. The guy had stolen less than $50 worth of stuff and complied, so it went pretty easy. After letting the shoplifter go, the loss prevention associate had some paperwork to do, so I jumped on the cameras to see what else was going on in the store. I soon find a shady-looking individual lurking around the electronics department. He's clearly making sure no one is in the vicinity watching him. He sneaks into an aisle and grabs an all-in-one monitor/desktop combo wrapped in spider wrap. I still don't know why a $1,000 plus computer wasn't locked behind a cage. Now he quickly takes it to a different aisle, easily works the spider wrap off the box, takes the computer out and shoves it into his sweatpants. Slinking over into the clothing racks in apparel, he hides the computer in some pants and sneaks around for the next 15 to 30 minutes trying to watch the employees up front by the registers. At this time of night, only our cigarette aisle is open. All of a sudden, while watching a blonde lady in our only open register line and crouched behind a rack of shirts, he pulls out his pecker and starts wanking it. Then he wiped himself clean on a shirt that was hanging in front of him. At this point, we don't want to deal with him at all, so we call the cops. Well, as soon as he finished cleaning off, he heads to where he hid the computer, puts it back in his pants, and starts to head our way. We realized he was going to get to us before the cop, so as soon as he passes out last point of sale, we head out to the monitoring room and confront him. It is here that I should mention that we are supposed to be a hands-off store. As in, if we confront a shoplifter, we're supposed to stop them with words. But at this location in the middle of the night, everybody's a runner. Obviously, this guy decides to run. We tackle him and pin him to the ground. Luckily, soon after the police show up, and we let them handle it from there. Story 7. Not an employee, but I'm very glad I wasn't for this one. One fateful afternoon, my bladder decided that I needed relief, so I ducked into the restroom while I was in my local Walmart. The two urinals were out of order, which left the handicap-accessible stall and the regular stall. Someone was in the regular stall, so I opened the door to the handicap stall and saw what I could only describe as the aftermath of a poop explosion. There was chocolate pudding consistency stuff on the floor, the seat of the toilet, the wall behind the toilet, on the toilet paper dispenser, everywhere. It looked like someone had stood with their pants down, bent over, and started spinning while letting forth like some sort of scatological lawn irrigation fountain. My bladder would have to wait. As I gently made my way out of the restroom, making a mental note to burn the shoes I was wearing that day, I saw a kindly-looking older man in a yellow vest pushing a cleaning cart towards the entrance to that hellhole of vile human excrement and villainy. See? Again with the Walmart poop stories. This is a national pandemic of disgusting activity, and it all stems from Walmart. This needs to end, America. Story 8. It's been years now since I worked there, but this is something I will never forget. I worked in the photo lab, which was right next door to electronics. There was a man and a child, the child being maybe 8, looking at video games. I kept hearing the child say that he had to go to the bathroom, but his father wouldn't take him or let him go alone. Long story short, the boy obviously couldn't hold it any longer and crapped his pants. The father then told the son to shake it out. The kid did just that, and tons of turds fell out of his shorts onto the floor. The smell was atrocious, and I honestly could not believe what I was witnessing. The father then walked over to my coworker and said, "Yeah, you better clean this up," and promptly left. I was stunned. And the poop examples continue. If anyone out there is considering working at Walmart, I hope this video serves as a reminder that you will be dealing with much more poop that probably comes up in your job interview. This dad is a poor influence on this kid, and the poor kid is probably really embarrassed to begin with. On top of that, the dad leaves and continues to be horrible to the staff. He needs a swift kick to the giblets. Story 9. At the time of this story, I was an overnight manager. While I was working my rounds, I had an associate come up to me and tell me that a customer told him to get the F away from me or I'll hurt you, and that he was headed towards the hardware department. She gave me a quick description: headphones, hoodie, white guy. I radioed the overnight asset protection guy so he could locate him on camera and headed out to find him. I see someone matching his description facing the other way down an aisle in hardware, and I go to confront him. He turns around and he's holding a hatchet. I keep my distance and ask him to leave. It's then that I realize that he's talking to himself. His conversation with himself is very conspiratorial in nature. With my limited knowledge on the subject, I have always thought that he was acting like someone in the middle of a strong schizophrenic episode might, and he scares the crap out of me. I quietly radio someone to call the cops and to let them know about the hatchet. He picked up a few things and headed to the registers while I followed him from 20 feet back. We opened a register just for him, and things went smoothly from there. He left the hatchets at the register, but I continued to follow him from there. And as I got to the front door, a line of cops confronted him with firearms. He complied, and it ended as well as I could have hoped. Story 10. Was working part-time at Walmart and was having a smoke break. There was a guy sitting on the bench with a paper sack. I thought, oh, he's got a beer in there or something to that nature. Nope. While several of us employees were sitting there, dude pulls out a white paint can, blasts it into the paper sack, and starts huffing it till his eyes roll back and he slumps out. Everyone was kind of in shock, but then a few seconds later he pops up, grabbed his stuff, and went on his merry way. Story 11. I personally didn't see this one, but I heard about it. It was during the holiday season, and there was an older woman who went into a dressing room with a bunch of clothing, and then came out with a lot less. She hobbled over to one of our electric carts and was slowly driving out, moaning in sheer agony. Needless to say, Softline employees noticed this and immediately alerted AP. They stopped her at the door, found a bunch of stuff out of bags in the cart that weren't paid for, and when they took her back into the AP office, they found that she had a lot more stuff on her person lodged up her butt. Our AP person, with the help of a couple cops, had to strip this old woman down in the office and remove said items from her rectum. The woman was arrested, and I don't think I've ever seen our AP woman leave after clocking out so fast that night. I'm guessing not, but was she shoving clothes up there and trying to smuggle them out? How would that even work to put clothes in your rectum? Like maybe some socks or something might fit. It is safe to say she's more likely that she inserted some smaller, more valuable items, perhaps some makeup or electronics. Cannot speak to that from any personal experience, thank goodness. In the comments, what's the craziest thing you ever witnessed someone trying to steal? Story 12. A customer in a power scooter, his own, not from the store, was at the fabrics counter asking me what would be a good fabric that could be waterproof. He only needed a 2x2 foot piece, and I was explaining to him how I had to cut by the yard, not by what size he asked. He was not understanding me completely, and in a moment of old man anger, he lifted up his shirt, pulled his pants down, and screamed, "I just want to keep my colostomy bag from freezing in the winter." I saw it all. Cut him a 1-yard piece of fabric and sent him on his way. Eye bleach much needed. Story 13. Posted a few days ago in another thread. This was back in the late 90s. I was working at Walmart as my first job as a teenager. I was floated to the garden department one day, and there was a guy looking at lawn fertilizer. I walked over and asked if he needs help, and he said, "Not now, just looking at the different kinds you have." Pretty standard reply from the guy, so I said, "Okay, let me know." I walked away and then swing back around 5 minutes later. Same guy has proceeded to rip open about 10 different kinds of the fertilizer all over the ground and is rolling around in the stuff. He is also taste sampling the stuff. I called my manager because I did not want to deal with it. Security escorted the guy out of the store and called an ambulance in case the ingestion of the fertilizer hurt him. Story 14. When I worked overnights about a week before Christmas, I was stocking the Mexican section. I was in my zone and really not paying attention. Suddenly, I hear a meek voice saying, "Excuse me, but do you have a phone?" I looked up to see a rail-thin woman in a yellow dress that looked like it was basically falling off. Her black hair was a mess, and she only had on one sock. Makeup was streaming down her face where she had been crying. My heart was racing just because I wasn't really expecting this. People rarely speak to you overnight to begin with, and immediately upon seeing her, I assumed the worst had happened. Anyways, I told her that the phone was up front and the self-checkout lady would gladly let her use it. Now, I never found out for sure, but she told our staff checkout lady that she had been at a party, got into a fight with her boyfriend, and gotten kicked out or left, can't remember. She then proceeded to walk around 4 miles from the next county over to our store, since it was the only place open this late. It was also only in the 30s and drizzling outside. If you want really good stories, work overnights at a grocery store. That must have been a pretty decent fight with her boyfriend, for her to walk 4 miles just to use a phone, clearly before the days when everyone had their own cell phone. I hope everything turned out to be okay with her, and she was also very brave to make that long walk in the middle of the night in winter. That's some serious survival instinct there. Story 15. I was never a Walmart employee, but my first job was at Cinemark Theaters. We weren't in the best place at town, and every so often we would get absolutely insane customers or events that would just leave you in disbelief. Essentially, we were the Walmart of theaters. This is one of those events I still shake my head at 16 years later. I'm working at the snack bar with about 10 other people. Both lines are open, and customers are getting antsy as to not miss the beginning of their movies. It's opening weekend for Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, I don't recall which. All of a sudden, a guy taps me on the shoulder as I'm refilling one of the bulk candy bins, and with wide eyes, tells me that someone took a crap in the men's bathroom and that it's the worst he's ever seen. My supervisor is there and nods her approval, and I hustle down to the bathrooms while she continues restocking. By the time I get to the bathrooms, which were only a few dozen meters away, I knew something was very, horribly wrong. People were looking at me with deer in the headlights looks, and children's were being shooed away from me as I stride forward to take control of the situation with my mop, bucket, and a few towels and cones. What greeted me was more awful than I could have imagined. The disabled person's stall was disabled, to say the least. Runny, ploppy crap covered the entire seat, down the front, the backsplash was completely splooshed, and it was on the ceiling. It covered the floor and was coming out from underneath the stall wall. Whoever the poor soul was that had been inflicted with Montezuma's revenge had gotten it on his hands because it was also on the latch handle and stall door. The place reeked of something worse than death, and the putridity caused me to nearly puke. I dashed out, shutting the door, and decided the $6.25 an hour I was making was not worth me cleaning it up, and set out an out-of-order sign in front of the door. I decided that I would quit before I cleaned that crap up and went to my soup, who, after seeing the scene, backed me up 100% to the assistant manager. The assistant manager saw it, and after conferring with the general manager, made a call to the contracted custodial company for a priority visit ASAP. Bar none the most horrific thing I've seen with my own eyes. So apparently it's not just Walmart that gets all of the poopy problems. I never understood how fecal matter can get on every single surface like this. Like, what has to happen in there for it to spread around like the defecation hitting the oscillation? I don't blame that kid for quitting on the spot, because no amount of free movie tickets and all-you-can-eat popcorn is worth that kind of horror. Story 16. I've posted this in another Walmart thread. It's one of my favorite stories from my mom. My mom worked at Walmart for about a year. She actually liked it as she was more active, but she decided to quit after the jewelry department manager had a meltdown and started throwing jewelry at customers. One old lady got pelted in the head with a heavy ring box, and it was over. Turns out the manager was selling the jewelry to friends and family, but would keep the boxes and stuff them with rocks and trash so inventory would stay the same. She had the meltdown before she was caught. They had to drag her out of the store that day.